says bogus assignee for intervening assignments. That's who acquired this loan.
This was an actual document that was in litigation?
Yes. And what corporation assigned this loan? A corporation identified as a Bad Beanie. Excuse me, when I saw that, I was just absolutely amazed.
What does that mean, a bad beanie?
It could possibly mean a bad beneficiary. I have no idea what they meant. So here's the same woman, Linda Green, and this time, instead of being a vice president of American Home Mortgage Servicing, she's vice president of a Bad Bean.
Simoniak says that the banks whose paperwork was handled by the Docks Forgery Mill included Wells Fargo, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Citibank, U.S. Bank, and Bank of America. We contacted all of them, and each said that it farmed out its mortgage servicing work to other companies, and it was those mortgage servicing firms that hired Docks. Docks was owned by a company called LPS, a $2 billion firm that calls itself the nation's leading provider of mortgage processing services. LPS told us that when it found out about the phony signatures in 2009, it shut Docks down. The FBI and several states are investigating. There were 1 million foreclosures last year, and there will be another 1 million this year. Those lawsuits are forcing open those bundled mortgage-backed securities that Wall Street cooked up in the mid-2000s, and they're exposing a lack of ownership documents all across the country.
It's astonishing to me that this became as pervasive as a problem that it is.
It got sloppy.
It got very sloppy.
Sheila Bair is one of the government's top banking regulators as chairman of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
You just described it as pervasive.
Yeah, it is pervasive. It absolutely is pervasive. And it was just a matter of cutting corners, not spending enough money, not having the quality controls.
Incompetent banking back then is causing foreclosure ghettos today. Although banks say the courts have been accepting their paperwork, now that's changing as desperate homeowners countersue the banks over the document fiasco. This leaves houses unsold indefinitely, undermining the recovery.
I'm very worried about if this starts getting out of hand, the kind of impact it will have.
These are lawsuits by homeowners who are being foreclosed upon, saying...
Yes, or in the process or have already been foreclosed on.
Saying, prove it.
Yes, exactly.
Prove that you own this.
Exactly.
How big an issue is that going to be? There are 30,000 today?
I think this litigation could easily get out of control, and we would like to get ahead of it. We're already feeling like we're falling behind it.
Chairman Bair thinks rotten mortgage documents are so threatening to the economy that the government should force banks to pay into a massive fund.
But you think there needs to be a cleanup fund?
I do.
Just like you would have
a good word for it,
for a natural disaster.
Yes, somewhat like that. Yes, this is one of human making, but yes.
You don't want to give an exact dollar amount for this cleanup fund, but what are we talking about? Is it billions?
It would be, yes, I would assume it would be billions, yes.
Billions of dollars?
Yes, absolutely.
Chairman Bair's proposed cleanup fund would pay homeowners to accept a bank's ownership claim without a lawsuit. She says that this could be cheaper for the banks than trying to recreate the missing documents legitimately and not through the document mills.
I think eventually the bank could prove who owned it, but it would take a lot of time and expense.
You know, none of the major banks were willing to sit down with us and talk to us about this, not even the American Bankers Association.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Why do you think that is?
They're feeling very defensive now, and so I can only assume that is the reason why they declined.
The banks are defensive because all 50 state attorneys general want to punish them. The states are seeking about $20 billion in damages for what they say is the irresponsible, perhaps criminal way that some mortgage companies handled what is, for most folks, the most important investment of their lives.
Do you know who really owns your mortgage? To learn more, go to 60minutesovertime.com. Sponsored by Lipitor.
We used to bet